I'm going to humble myself in this video before you. Not that I never have, and I always didn't, because I have always had a place of humility when I approach anyone with a particular subject matter, conversation, because that's only the appropriate thing to do. I don't know everything, so let's get that out of the way. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist of sorts. I'm just a learned man. I'm someone who studies the world that I live in, as should you. So if you're watching me right now, if you're not your own person, and if you don't study the world that you live in, shame on you. It is a tragedy, a travesty, for us to live in a world where we are dependent on the majority of every piece of information that we know from a third party, someone else. We're going down the rabbit hole for a moment here. Listen, why is it that other people outside of you know more about you than you do? And I could pause for about 10 minutes and just sit here and think and ponder why we allow people to do that to us. Why does some third party, again, know more about you than you do? We've been programmed, we've been brainwashed into believing that other outside entities are supposed to have control over our existence. Almost majority of our existence, that is. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Listen, I know what governance is and a government is, but do you? A government is supposed to have limited interference in our individual lives. Note that I said individual. Are you your own person? Can you answer that question honestly? Do you even know what it means to be your own person? Do you make your own decisions, or do you allow someone else to make decisions for you? Notwithstanding anyone who has some mental illness. Pardon me, someone was calling me. But anyway, as it relates to our physiology, our bodies, how much do you know about you? It's funny, not facetious, not humorous. It's odd, that's what I mean by funny, that we don't know what to shop for in terms of food that's beneficial to us, that we put in our bodies. DNA, it stands for deoxy or dioxy ribonucleic acid. That's the thing in your body that separates you from the next person, your genetics. Did you not know that whatever you put in your mouth, your body recognizes it as being good or bad? That's how intelligent it is. So if you're putting something in your body that your body recognizes that comes from the earth, it knows what it is. Now, us out here seeing it, we don't necessarily understand that. But once it enters inside, your body says, I know what that is. So let me break it down, metabolize it, assimilate it, and use it for energy and development and growth of new tissues and cells and so forth. And when something that's foreign comes into your mouth, your body says, oh no, put the brakes on. I don't know what that thing is that you just put in me. So it builds up inflammation and starts to fight it from within. Then oftentimes you will receive at some point in time, if not in the near future, the midstream or later future, you will start having responses and reactions to those things that you put in your body that it discarded. Did you not know this? Because it's perfect like that. So what I'm saying to you and trying to encourage you to do today is to start knowing what you're doing and stop doing things just because you've been traditionally doing it forever. Just because your parents cooked soul food if you were black people, Soul food was not necessarily good for us down the road, because black folks have a lot of high uh, sugar, cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypertension, obesity, cancer, disease, various other things as a result of how we eat. We're not the only ones, but we're some of the main constituents. So be careful what you put in your mouth and make sure that it's real and not artificial. Oh wow, did I just touch something? Did I touch a nerve? Make sure that what you put in your mouth is real, organic food and not artificial. That's going to be a challenge for most of us. So I'm going to pause just for a second. So again, we have to make sure that the food that we ingest or put in our bodies is from nature, because we are nature. You put nature into nature. Anything outside of that is something that's made in the laboratory for specific reasons, to preserve food, or what we call food, so that it stays in the grocery stores longer so that they can sell more. I know you know this, right? If not, now you do. The reason all of these chemicals are in our foods is here. All of the chemicals that you see in your foods that you don't know what they are, you can't pronounce them or hardly pronounce them, and it's 5, 10, 15 different ingredients in the package. The reason they're there is for color, primarily, for taste, to preserve, to stop a reaction that you could possibly have from one of the ingredients. It's like medicine. If one medicine makes you sick, the doctor will give you another medicine to counter that medicine. So it's done the same way with food. So shelf life, and also some of the ingredients that's in these foods that we are ingesting are there to make us addicted to the food, so we continue to buy those foods. Yes, that's the reason. They make you addicted. And how did they know you were addicted to this? By experimenting on animals and even people, doing test studies to find out what people's taste buds liked, what their habits were. And so once they found out through these experimentations, they say, oh, this will sell in the store. And sugar was one of the main culprits. It's sugar in virtually every food that you purchase that's packaged. Yes, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, salad dressing, barbecue sauce. Should I go on? It's sugar there because it's highly addictive. But guess what? Processed sugar is a poison. Just wanted to leave that one with you. So now, we're still allowing other people to dictate what we ingest. It's a trick. Food industry's jobs are to make millions and billions of dollars annually. They're not supposed to keep you healthy. They will give you the best advertisement. They will tell you that this is fortified with this vitamin, those minerals, and so on and so forth. They'll tell you that to protect their profit. They'll say that to you. They're not going to tell you that it has this adverse reaction. It could potentially cause obesity. It could potentially cause diabetes. It could potentially cause death. They're not going to tell you that because they're in the business not to keep you healthy, but to make profit. Hello, at your expense. So now, as it relates to foods, are you really in control of what you're eating? Are you really independent? You say you are. We say we claim that we're independent. What is independence really? Are you really taking control of your lives? And have you really taken control of your lives? Is this your body or someone else's? But we sure are dancing to the beat of someone else. How do you know? Serious question. How do you know that when you go to a restaurant to buy food for you and your family, what's in the food? What's in the sauces? What's in the creams? What's in the dessert? How do you know? We never question, by and large, when we go and eat at a restaurant. We assume. It's a custom. We've been doing that so long since we were little children, assuming that it's okay. We never even give it a second thought what's in a hamburger. All you see is a bun, some meat, and some fillers. Tomatoes, lettuce, mayonnaise, mustard, pickles, and so forth. But you don't know what their origin is, do you? You don't know if it came from another country. You don't know if they had a good or bad crop. You don't know. All you know is that it's flavorful. It looks good. It smells good. It tastes good. But you've never done any work. You really don't care. All you care about is feeding your palate, right? So again, I ask you the question, how much do you know about the world outside of you, and how much control do you actually have and or take? Same thing is true when you buy a beverage in a restaurant. They bring it to you. I want this alcoholic beverage. You don't know what it is. You've been drinking it for a while. You buy a daiquiri, strawberry, pina colada, whatever, anything with some fruit in it, what have you. It tastes good, gives you a little buzz, but you don't really know what it is. You don't really know what's in it. You don't really know its origin, do you? And the same thing is true in your grocery store. These things that are packaged with all of these extra ingredients, we don't know what those things are, but we consume them. And when they're on sale, or when they're at a reasonable price to us, we just continue to buy it over and over and over again. And somewhere down the road, I got a pain. I have a headache. I'm having gastrointestinal issues and so forth. And we wonder why and how. I've never had that problem before. And then when you go to the doctor, they say, have you experienced this before? Does this run in your family? Oh, yes. Colon issues have been a problem in my family. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, my mother had heart disease and so on and so forth. But guess what? Do you have the same eating habits that they had? That's genetic. No one passes a heart condition on to the next person. What you're passing on is the bad habits that your parents had before you. Hello. Talk to me, brother teacher. Okay, now we're talking about food. What about pharmaceuticals when you go to the hospital? How much about your body do you know, ladies and gentlemen? I'm asking you this question now. Hello. I was just talking to an individual today. Do you know the fundamentals of your body? Do you? I'm not going to sit up here and open up a book or some notes and go through it. I'm just going to scathe the surface, so to speak. Did you not know that there's a portal where you eat, where you take food into your mouth, right? One portal, and then there's a second one that exits. That's your rear end, your anal canal, right? Two ways, in the mouth and out the canal, the anus. There's never supposed to be a blockage after you've eaten a meal. There should never be any such thing called constipation if you're eating what you're supposed to be eating. You should never ever be constipated. Did you know that? This is basic. Hello? It's basic. Once you eat something, digestion begins in your mouth. Mastication is chewing. You chew your food to break it down. Did you not know that your saliva has enzymes like amylase and pectin that helps to break down protein and other things that you put in your mouth? You swallow it down. Your esophagus, it goes into your stomach and it starts this churning motion, and then the other gastric juices, hydrochloric acid and so forth, begins to further break it down. And some of the assimilation and absorption of those nutrients begin at the upper portion of the small intestine. And from the small intestine, it goes to the large intestine. Some more absorption there. And this is where your microbiome is, right? And also, this is where the elimination process begins. Also in the large intestine, what we call the gut, right? Or the colon. Anytime you improperly combine foods or eat the wrong foods, or even with some medication and you get constipation, there's a stop, right? Or some sluggish movement. First of all, the peristalsis movement is what pushes. It's that muscular push of those things that you have swallowed, going through that digestive tract, if you will. that get pushed out of your body until finally you end up with that in the toilet, right? If there's any hesitation, you're constipated. Yes, what happens with constipation, brother teacher, when you're constipated? Guess what? You start having stomach problems, cramps, and so forth. You have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. You have leaky gut potentially, diverticulitis, maybe even Crohn's disease, colitis, as a result of your diet. Hello, we're in America now. People eat everything. Virtually everything. Who told you that you could eat everything? I'm going to ask you that question again. Who told us, human beings, on this land of plenty, this earth of plenty, that we could eat anything that we wanted to eat? I'm going to pump the brakes for a second and ask you this question. A gorilla, you know how big a gorilla is, a silverback gorilla even. It only eats vegetation, and it's the strongest animal in its environment. It doesn't eat meat. Hello. A gorilla. Giraffes don't eat meat, animal protein that is. An elephant doesn't eat meat, animal protein. A zebra and a hippopotamus, a rhinoceros, a camel, they don't eat meat. They eat vegetation. Hello. And these animals are vibrant. They're strong. So, I remember Dr. Sebi, and I use this as an example. You can't give a polar bear the diet of a gorilla. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because a polar bear is a meat eater, a carnivore. It would die if all you fed it was vegetables, or vegetation, if you will. And the gorilla is a vegetarian. If you fed him some steak, some beef, some chicken, he would die. You know why? That's not his diet. Just to use those as an example, and let me talk about the meat eaters for a second. Alligators, crocodiles, piranha fish, shark, tigers, lions, leopards, cheetahs, wolves, they eat meat. They couldn't survive on vegetation because that's not the nature of the animal. So what makes you think if these animals in nature eat one specific thing and not everything, what makes you think that human beings are supposed to eat everything? Have you been misinformed through tradition? What makes you think that we can eat anything? Wherever we found ourselves on God's green earth, north, south, east, or west, our diets were there, what we are indigenous to, where we came from originally. That's what our diet was. It was not until we started mixing and traveling the planet, and especially in North America, with this group of mixed cultures, they began to alter the diets, mix the diets, blend the diets. So we're eating a little of everything, and guess what? There comes the disease, because our bodies were not designed originally to eat animal flesh. If you believe in God, if you believe in Jesus Christ, Yeshua, if you believe in the book of Genesis and Adam and Eve, look at what they ate. Do you think something changed? I'm not saying that you don't see men in the Bible that were eating meat and lamb and so on and so forth. I know that's there. Go back to the beginning though. What did the original man, I say that again, what did original man eat? And what did the Creator say to the original man? Do you want me to pull the scripture for you? Look it up in the first chapter of Genesis. It's there. It tells you what he ate and she ate. That's what was designed for human beings to eat. Throughout evolution doesn't mean that we changed and the insides of us changed. Our bodies have always been the same. Evolution changed. I'm just simply talking about the evolution of time, space. That is, man began to adapt the habit of eating meat. Doesn't mean that your body has accepted eating meat. Hello. So now, I know there's going to be a big debate and argument about that, because people are going to always argue about the things that they like to do or love to do. They're going to always try to defend it, even when it's wrong, even though nature tells you otherwise. But nature wins always in the end. It does. Do you think you're greater than nature? Throw a ball up in the air. It's coming back down, right? It's natural. It's a natural law. The law of gravity, right? There's always going to be an opposite. That's a law of nature too. Nothing goes one way in the world. There's always an opposite. And there's always cause and effect. You can only have an effect if you have a cause. Hello? That's the law of nature. Just to give you something to think about for a moment. So now again, getting back to us human beings. If the animals have a specific diet, a specific thing that makes them flourish, hello, why don't human beings? Why do we eat everything that comes to mind? We eat beef, pork, lamb, fowl or chicken, if you will, birds, if you will. We eat fish, crustaceans, the things on the bottom of the water, lobsters, shrimps, crabs, worms, and what have you. I'm not saying all of these things are bad. I'm just pointing out some different things that we eat. And we eat things that grow in bushels. We eat things that come out of the ground, like potatoes, so forth. We eat things that come off of trees. We eat things that grow in the water, certain algae and so forth. We eat a lot of things. But everything is not supposed to be combined. Everything is not food for us. Some of the things that we're consuming is for some other species, and it's not for us. And we are the only creature on this planet that still drink milk that's not from our mother. We're drinking cow's milk. Cow's milk was intended for cows, for their calves, right? Just like a dog has pups. The mom's milk is for the pups, right? A tiger has cubs. The milk is intended for its cubs. Every mammal that has offspring, their milk is intended for their kind. They don't drink other animals' milk. Hello? Human beings, women are taking pills to dry up their milk after they've given birth. They don't want the child sucking on their breasts, on their nipples and so forth. So guess what they do? The doctors conveniently hand them some pills. Since the baby's not latching, go get some Similac or buy something from the store and so on and so forth. I don't like the way that feels. Hello, why do you have breasts? Let's just chop them off if you don't like how it feels. Hello? That's what they're for. Mammary glands are to feed your babies. Now, there are always extenuating circumstances, but that's not the majority. So ladies, I'm encouraging you. Your breasts were made to feed your babies, not some food manufacturer putting something in a can that is not even equal to what God has given you to give to your child. That's the truth anyway. Anyhow, as they say in church. How are you going to put something in a can and say that that's as good as or better than a mom's milk? No way in the world. Didn't the baby come from you? So if the milk came from you, then they both are good. Hello. So now, I understand, as I said a moment ago, there's those women who want to explain away their responsibility and say, some of them, my baby just didn't latch on, and say, for real. I bet in some of those situations, maybe most of them, if the baby got hungry enough, it would latch on. We keep making excuses for not doing what we're supposed to be doing as human beings and as people. It's a shame, but that's what we do. So now, so the industries, they make billions of dollars off of selling their products to us. And they work in conjunction with the doctors and the hospitals to sell their products. So oftentimes, you're discouraged from using the gift of nature, your breast, your paps, if you will, ladies, and feeding your offspring. It's not supposed to be the majority thing that you do. It's not supposed to be the majority of women feeding their babies baby formula. Who makes the baby formula? Major corporations that make billions of dollars off of it. What existed before baby formula? Your breast. Hello? Animals in nature don't use baby formula. Hello? They don't. Human beings do. Why? Why has it become such a prevalent thing to use baby formula? I'm not saying that it doesn't have its place. There's a minuscule amount of children that may benefit from baby formula because of some physical situation, some medical situation. I'm not discounting that. I know that does exist. But what I'm saying, it has become the norm. For some moms, it's convenient. I don't have time to pump. I don't have time because I have all these other things in my life going on. I've got to go to school, got to go to work. What about your child? Isn't your child more important than those other things? Hello, you have to figure out some time for your children. They are the priority. Maybe you have your priorities in the wrong place, in the wrong order. So now, it's your body. I talked about women having babies and how much control you have over your body. I'm sorry for the brief glitches in the video. I've had people coming in the store, which is a good thing, but it's necessary that you know this, my friends. I don't intend any harm. I'm not trying to usurp authority over anyone and say you better do this. No, you make your own decisions. I'm just a springboard, for what already exists in the world in which we live. I'm just an instrument. I'm sharing information with you that I know is beneficial. I know that it's accurate information. You can always fact check me. But you know what? This is so common sense. It's ridiculous. The question at the end of the day is, if you know that you have not been your own person, if you know that you've allowed third parties and industries to control or dictate the movements in your life and how you operate in your life when you should have been doing it yourself all along, are you willing to change? And if you will actually or indeed change, are you going to change? Or business as usual every day, I'll continue to do it because I'm just used to doing it that way. Are you going to take charge of your own life and get away from how things have been already? Are you going to change your paradigm, the way in which you operate? That's what I'm talking about. You're going to change your paradigm for the better. Paradigm simply is what makes you who you are and how have you been operating all the way up until this point. That's been your paradigm. Your modus operandi, how you've been operating in your life. Has it been optimal? Really? On every front, in every aspect? How much is in your control versus how much you've allowed other people to control of your own lives? It's very, very important to know this. So, we've allowed people to teach us what our reality should be or what our reality is. We've allowed other people to do that, even in religion. You taught people, not you taught, but people have trained us to believe that their truth is the truth because they wanted to control you. You've had family members even dictate how you should walk in life instead of you making your own decisions. Haven't you? Do you still continue to let your family members dictate your life? It's not their right to do that because your life belongs to you. Say it again. Your life belongs to you. But how much of your life are you in control over? This hurts some of you deep down to the core, what I'm saying. Because you've allowed someone all or most of your life to control you. Especially in your family. And you have never been happy, not truly happy. But you've been walking lockstep the way they wanted you to. They were the puppet masters and you were the puppet. And some of you still are the puppets. Some of us has allowed government to control our lives. Can't do anything without government. Can't do anything without your family giving you the approval, supporting you, seemingly. But how much of your life do you actually control? That's the question. And I started to mention pharmaceutical companies early on. Look, when you have a headache, when you have a backache, when you have a toothache, first thing we want to do, rush to the drugstore, the corner store, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Aleve, some aspirins, some this or some that, to cover up the symptoms. But did you ever go back and find out what's causing the problem and what did I do to cause the problem myself? Hello, do you know enough about your physiology? It's yours. Honestly. So we go to the hospital when we have a bad stomach ache. What caused the stomach ache? Do you know? I have a headache, a bad migraine. What caused the migraine? Hello? I'm having gastrointestinal issues. I'm having heart palpitations. I'm having this, I'm having that. We run to the emergency room. Hello, what they gonna do? Let's just patch it up. Let's just cover up the symptoms. But we won't investigate what caused the problem and address what caused the problem. When you really know what caused the problem, more times than not, you caused the problem. We caused the problem. But instead of us going back and reevaluating what may have occurred or took place, we go and get the patch, cover up the symptoms, and then the problem is still there and it exacerbates, it gets worse. The next thing you know, we're online on a list for surgery. We're given some strong medication that's causing all of these adverse reactions in our body because our bodies, something's wrong. You're giving me something that doesn't belong there. You better start taking care of the thing that God gave you, that we gave you. You're blessed with this one thing, this one body. So take care of it. You know what's funny? First of all, I had some breaks again because of customers, which is a good thing because my business needs it. But what's funny is that we're living in a matrix, and many people don't realize it, and many people may know it and don't even care because they have this mentality or mindset: if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And this is the thing that I'm familiar with. I'll keep going with it, even though I'm not 100% happy. And who would be 100% happy? Even though I'm not that happy about it, but they continue with it because most of us are afraid of change, even though the change could potentially change us into a better person, a better version of who we are. But what's really, really crazy is that our whole lives is under the control of various other entities, and the lesser control is in our hands, all by choice. That's hard. I have tried to finish this video, but I guess the powers that be won't allow me to. But I'm going to try to conclude now. I've had people coming in intermittently. But anyway, I'm going to touch on police and emergency responders to your home. Do you have a first aid kit in your house? You should. Do you have a fire extinguisher in your house? You should. Do you have weapons in your house to protect you and your family if you had to? You should. Is your house secure? Your windows, your doors, your yard? if you have that capacity, depending on where you live and how you live, what type of neighborhood and the home that you're in, be it an apartment or a house, you should be protected. Why do we need all of these other elements to have the majority of their resources for us? Why don't we have any resources for ourselves? So what are you saying, brother teacher? I'm not saying that you don't need the police department, because you do. What I'm saying, they call these people responders that are first responders. You are the first responder if something happens to you, because it happened to you first. Just to clarify something. So if someone breaks into my home after they've done their damage, it's going to take the police a while to get there, right? Now, if I'm injured in my home, I should have minimally a first aid kit there. If it's a bleeding incident, for example, or if I've choked on something and I don't feel too well afterwards, I should have some sort of first aid kit there for me and my family. I shouldn't rush to the emergency room or be so quick to call medical emergency if it's not that much of an emergency. But people do this typically all the time. If you pay enough attention, and if you watch a lot of YouTube videos where they show some of these real live events taking place, and if you pay attention to the news, the local news, you'll see that there's a lot of 911 calls that are erroneous. There's a lot of 911 calls that people get arrested behind because they're false. They're not even necessary. And they're wasting manpower that the city has when it could be going or used for real emergencies. So if the police had to come to my house, they should come after I've protected my house. Do you follow? Because usually when something happens to at our home and someone harms us, attempts to harm us, we call the police after the fact. So they're really, in essence, they are second responders. So when the fire department comes to put out my grease fire in my kitchen, guess what? Where was my fire extinguisher? Why was I not equipped in my own home minimally? If the emergency medical people come to perform some sort of medical procedure on me, or to help me, or to bandage me up, why was I not prepared ahead of time? Notwithstanding you have something that you don't have any control over, like a broken arm, I fell off a roof or something like that. I'm talking about things that we can mitigate ourselves, but more so than not, we're never prepared. Okay, I was stumbling and bumbling just a little bit there, but a lot on my mind, but it's okay. Still, what I'm still saying to you is, we must at least do our work. We must at least be proactive ourselves. We need to prepare ourselves and not be so dependent upon somebody that's a third party for everything, or nearly everything that we need. So I've scaled the surface. I think I've covered some of the basic topics that we deal with from day to day. First responders. Let me add this too before I conclude. Banking. Some of us rely on our bank. We love our bank. Some of us know our bankers. We know the tellers by first name, last name sometimes too. Hey, how you doing today, Joy? How you doing today, Roger, Richard, Kathy, what have you? Okay, cool. Now, why do you have all of your money in the bank? I'm talking about being independent again. Keep your money in several vehicles, not just simply one, because you're allowing that one bank to have total control of your money and or your assets. Never depend solely on one entity. Never do that. How much money do you have on hand? You should have some money on hand. If peradventure the bank had to be closed, or the ATM machines are not working for whatever reason, and then you're frustrated and you're angry because some third party is not giving you access to what you say is yours, right? So if all of your money is in the ATM machine or in the bank, right, and you can't get to the ATM machine, why? Whose fault is it? It's yours for not having some liquid cash somewhere else that you can gain access to. Think about it. Anyway, I'm going to conclude. I want you to respond. I want you to let me know what your experiences have been as far as you being independent, and how much of your life have you turned over to third parties versus you controlling your own life. I'm serious. Well, that was all I had to say. I think I said a lot. Man, it's been approximately 40 minutes. Can you believe? I hope it was worthwhile to you. Think about this thing of being independent and being your own person, and being an individual, and not allowing other people outside of yourself to control all or most of your lives. That was it, and that was all. This is Brother Teacher. I'm out.